Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first panel discussion for today, where we're going to discuss what makes some F&B businesses successful in Vietnam. Now, this is a very exciting panel for all of us because we have industry experts and veterans from a variety of different business formats within the F&B space. And I'll make a quick introduction before handing over to our moderator. First of all, we have Chef Peter, who's dialing in from Thailand. So Chef Peter, as you know, is one of the most renowned chefs in Vietnam, who's also founded Anan Saigon. Then we have Mr. Michael Lin from Pizza Hut Vietnam. So he's the general manager of the business and has exciting plans for the business going forward, which I'm sure he's going to share more about as well. And finally, our moderator for today is Mr. Taku Tanaka. A lot of you might know Pizza 4Ps, so that's where he started from as the COO, and now he runs his own B2B supply chain company as well, and he will be moderating the session. So over to you, Taku.
Oh, thanks. Hi, everyone. It's nice to moderate the great panel with great speakers. Thanks, Michael and Peter, for having the time. So I'm gonna ask some of the question following the panel discussion, secret to success, and hope we can share some of the insight to the audience about how we can success. So first question for the both of you, which is more like a general question, is what are some of the key factors allowing a certain F&B business to be successful in Vietnam? I think there is a lot of aspects about like location, food familiarity, pricing, brand positioning, and maybe many more. Can you or little explain about it? Maybe we can start from the Peter.
Hi guys, hello from Bangkok. I think when we're talking about this, it really depends on the products and types of business. But let's say we're talking here specifically about Singaporean and franchising company, as you mentioned before. I think the basic stuff is just one is reasonable prices for the local market, and I think two, special unique products that is somehow different from what's available. And I think that the third thing is really branding and quality. That's very important to long-term success. If you look at it right now, probably in terms of the foreign companies, what we have probably I would say Japanese company, Korean, and the other one I would say the big American brands who are very successful. These I would say Taku, probably the big three, and they have a certain thing in common in terms of making them successful.
Cool. Thanks a lot for a good explanation, Peter. What about Michael? Can you explain about it as well?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think from a franchise point of view, of course, you need a good partner. You need to have somebody who knows the market. But I think, but of course, I think this is a prerequisite. But building on what Chef Peter said, I think definitely these are the very important factors. But I think more of what to do, we also need to know like what is the process that actually we need to go through. Because I was looking into like a startup kind of point of view, for example. You need to actually achieve some sort of product market fit, which is, I think, according to what Chef just said, is relevant product. I mean, relevant product can't just create in one day. We all know that it has to go through an iterative process. You need to understand the customer, what they want, and validate your assumption. So we need to have this kind of process going through. I mean, it's a matter of like how long we can sustain that. I have been seeing a lot of F&B businesses, especially foreign businesses. They might not understand the fact that this will take some time. So I think having the patience, having the understanding of you need to go through a product market fit process before you scale up is important. So that actually not just includes what kind of food you're going to serve, but as long as you have your brand position and your pricing, sometimes you need to go through a tweaking process to actually know what is the sweet spot you need to be. So I think, yeah, the key point I think is you need to be patient. You need to understand what to do, but at the same time have the investment in time on how you want to make this happen. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, a startup world. So I mean, like a product market fit is like a very popular word for the startups. In F&B, how do you see you are already past the product market fit or before the product market fit? Like how do you judge from your side? And also, do you suggest to the franchise company start small to validate its product market fit or something?
Yes, for sure. Because I think even franchise, you actually put up some sort of investment or commitment, to the partner, to the franchisee. I think, yeah, always, of course, you have to have a longer term vision to understand what is the horizon you want to achieve. But yeah, definitely start small. And in terms of how you want to gauge yourself, whether you've got a product market fit, of course, I think it's looking at the sales, looking into your branding, positioning, how people respond to your product. Does your customer come back on a regular basis? I think this kind of data is so important to tell you whether you have a fit. If you have a fit, meaning that you will start to see regular customers. So that means you're actually attracting certain amount of crowd. So who are they? Okay, if you actually found them, of course, then you will start to have a confidence that certain profile of people really love what you do. So of course, then you can start to the next point to ask is, okay, so where can I actually have more of these people? Or alternatively, are you going to trial another segment of people to attract them? So this whole process, yeah, I would suggest you to start small so that you can actually get the learning much faster. Yeah.
Cool, I agree. Thanks a lot. So the second question, I'm gonna ask this question to the both of you as well. So what is a good return on investment one should target when the F&B or started business in Vietnam? If you are the first person and starting F&B business now in Vietnam, where are you gonna invest the most? Peter, can you start first?
Okay, I may not be the best person to answer this, but I think, I come from a finance investment background, but I think, when I returned to Vietnam 5 years ago, it's really similar to you, Taku, trying to build, create a startup that has a fairly long-term horizon. So, so I don't take the short-term too much. So we tend to heavily invest in the beginning. Even in terms of not taking profit out in the beginning so that we can build something that's more long-term sustainable. Basically, we're building a brand, so that takes a lot of work to do. So it's quite different from other people who have a fairly short-term horizon, but I think the key, I think now it's just when we're in the startup mode. So we're just really trying to build a successful company, which takes a little bit longer. And I think from, maybe from a franchising perspective, the horizon can be shorter, I guess.
Cool. Thanks a lot. How about Michael?
I think this is always a hard question because I think in terms of what do we mean by good, it's very subjective. But I think one point is very important is what is your investment objective to come when you come? Okay, it's whether, of course, I think the first question is, are you just here for profit? But most of assuming the audience here today who are actually having a franchise that may ready to expand, meaning that you have been in F&B business for a long time. So my assumption is you're here for a long a commitment in this country. I think we have to look into what is a longer horizon because it is going to be a very difficult journey. I've got to be honest. I think what I said before, there's a journey of learning, understanding the market, understanding people, overcoming the challenges, understanding the partners. And I think the return on investment definitely will not come in a year or two. Maybe you will have a store very, very successful, but I think the challenge will come as you expand to maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 locations because that comes to uncertainty. Like pizza has been having a store 110 store. We've been here for 12 years. I think, yeah, the biggest challenge is how to be able to consistently, deliver the financial result, which actually is very difficult because you have market entrance. This is a very new market, a developed market where everybody would love to come. Therefore, you will have competition, entry barrier of F&B business is very low. So it's very fragmented. So once you're successful, you will start to face entrance, start to compete with you, copying your concept and try to get your market share. So if you start to have this market share competition, of course, then your margin will start to erode. So we need to actually prepare for this competition. And I was going to say, if you come in with an expectation of a 50% IRR or try to break even in 2-3 years time, I think this is something that it might not be feasible, except you come in with a very strong value proposition. But I think we have to realistically look into maybe a return on investment, maybe to like 5, 6, 7 years. I think that is already quite a good of target to go, yeah. And of course, this is assuming that you will not have any big issues as you expand. But I think as you're venturing out, like what I said again, it's going to be starting seeing the risk coming to the investment, yeah.
Cool. Thanks for clear answer for that. So I think I'm gonna go to maybe the separate question for each of you, because the type of business is very different. So to the Peter, I think you are trying to do something very new in Vietnam, and sometimes I think it's very difficult to convince the Vietnamese local people to try something new. How do you introduce like very new flavors to the Vietnamese local audience in Vietnam?
Yes, I used to have 2 restaurants in Hong Kong before I had to return to Vietnam about 5 years ago. And at that time, when I was returning, a lot of my friends said that I was crazy, basically, because you have Vietnamese food that is really wonderful and the prices are reasonable everywhere. And here I am trying to sell Vietnamese food to Vietnamese people, at a much more higher price point, sometimes 10 times more. And, they say that's kind of like trying to sell ice to the Eskimos, they have lots of ice, they don't need to buy anymore. But I think, for me, I came back with the objective that I really want to raise the standard of the quality of the Vietnamese food. Is great, but the issue is always considered cheap, both within Vietnam and outside of Vietnam. So my objective was just really use quality ingredient, good cooking techniques, and to convince both local people as well as Westerners that Vietnamese food can be good, but also can be high quality and also at a fair price, which could be, let's say similar to getting pho, to something like similar to, let's say, a laksa, or let's say a Japanese ramen price. And so it takes us a long time to really convince people that that is possible. But we do that step by step and really delivering quality food and experience. And, we've been doing this for 5 years in Ho Chi Minh City now. And I think, people are starting to come around. And the other thing that I really try to do is raise the standard of the Vietnamese food in general as well, too. So that's why it's important for us to, let's say for me to be in Bangkok today and this week to attend the Asia 50 Best, trying to get in terms of Vietnam, its food and its culture onto the global scene, and also raising the standards so that people seeing the product as being quality products.
Right.
And that's important to me.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Okay, so the next question to Michael. That's also a kind of similar question, but I think you guys doing more the mass market business in Vietnam. So what makes like certain foreign F&B brands succeed compared to others who have not succeeded in Vietnam market? I think a lot of foreign brands are coming to Vietnam. Unfortunately, some of them are fail and they just go out of the market, to be honest, right? So what do you think it makes difference like?
Okay, yeah. So I think number one is whether you're able to find a good partner who actually share the same vision as you in having the same objective. Well, the objective can be, either you want to grow into like 300, 400 store kind of vision. So I think it has to be really ready to go through a process to understand, the partner that you're partnering with, do they have such a commitment to do that? Of course, from time to time, I think when foreign brands come in, either it's going organically or in partnerships, I think they underestimate the challenge in the beginning. How turbulent this market is. Right. So I think that having this vision and commitment to the country is important. And of course, the other part is the agility, I would say. Because I think from time to time when you come in as an F&B brand, you will start to have set out a certain standard. But when it comes to time that your standard are very much in a very strict kind of arrangement or protocols that make you difficult to move around and be flexible. I think bringing in having a foreign F&B, bringing in local taste is very important. Let me give you an example on Pizza Hut have been selling pizza all over the world, but I think when we came in we started looking into what local Vietnamese want on their pizza topic. So obviously seafood has been something that very popular, and we have been testing it out on the ingredients pairing, flavoring. So turn out we have a seafood pieces that the Vietnamese people like. But once again it was very lucky that our brand Yum, who is the franchise owner, they have been very flexible in allowing us to experiment, to innovate. So we have a lot of rooms to test, and without going into the restriction that there are certain things we can't do. But then that actually help us to able to understand the market more and penetrate the market. And I think up to today, we are continue doing this kind of experiment from time to time to make sure that we respond to what the local audience want. So if the F&B brands come in, with just to be setting out a certain standard for yourself that I must sell A, B, C, and D, there's very little room for you to innovate, then of course I think that will come to a challenge, because what you're selling in other markets doesn't mean it works well in other markets. And I think if it is a Singaporean brand, I think I can say chicken rice, the variation can be a lot too. Simply Vietnamese have chicken rice, but you have actually think about the texture of the chicken, whether even the skin of the chicken, even the rice, every single little element, you probably need to have the flexibility to tweak to like a local taste. I could say something like responding to like what London, chicken tikka masala has been the national dish right now. But then it's actually go through a very iterative process to bring this Indian dish very close to what British like. So I think it's a very typical example on whether when you come in, are you ready to have this agility to fix and adjust yourself so that you can fit into the foreign country. Yeah. Cool.
Thanks a lot. I just want to add a little bit on from my experience as well. I mean, like I came here in Vietnam like back in like 7-8 years ago, and that time pizza 4 piece, I only had one store, and that time I remember all of the customer Vietnamese who order pizza. At the same time, everyone asked me to give me the chili sauce and tomato ketchup. And I feel like I was a little shocked because we made a taste, but they just put the chili sauce and tomato ketchup. But after like 3, 4, 5 years, things actually change a lot. And now when you go to the pizza 4 piece, not so many Vietnamese customer ask tomato ketchup and chili sauce. They're just gonna wanna taste the original taste. So I think over the like 7 years, things they change a lot. Another example as well, like the pizza 4 piece also do the franchise for the Ippudo, which is a ramen store from Japan. And typically, a lot of people say the ramen is super salty compared to pho or some of the Vietnamese noodle. And then at the first years, we are a little difficulty. But recently, if you go to the old ramen shop in Le Tanton Street or like the center of Ho Chi Minh, right? It's queuing, the Vietnamese queuing to get the ramen. So I think the trend and things is changing very quickly in Vietnam. So that's also we need to watch carefully and see how it goes. And I think our basically you guys are making a trend, and then like the people is catching up for as time goes. As time goes, I believe. Cool. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Taku.
Yeah.
Let me add to that. I think that's the one of the big challenges, whether it's a startup or a global brand coming to Vietnam, is that the issue is localizing the product to the local taste, and then I think that's there's an opportunity, and there's also a big risk in that. In that, let's say if Pupuda was to make their broth lighter, less salty, then that could have an issue with the quality of the product, right?
Yeah.
So and I think so that's really for me, it's a fairly dangerous ground to touch on, because it's very easy to make mistake in this arena when you start to mess up with your core products, essentially. And I'll give you an example. I do similar. So when we sell pho, we actually don't put chili sauce. We don't allow anything on the table.
Right.
Just to deter them from, basically, we spend a lot of time making the broth. We actually don't even serve it. And when we serve, they ask for chili, we will provide lime and the cut chili. We don't actually provide the sauce, because this way they don't mix it in. So I have a lot of more control in place to keep the customer happy, but we still have control over them messing up the taste of the broth, and requires more work. But over time, like you say, less and less people, when they get used to the taste, they enjoy the quality better. Then they don't need to add or mix anything else inside, because that will destroy the broth that we spend a lot of time working on.
Yeah, that's I definitely agree. To some extent, I think the new kind of cuisine has to educate the market, and that takes time. And we need to understand about the timeline for the business as well when we start something new. That's same for the startups, same for the F&B stores, I believe. Thanks a lot for your good example, Peter. Cool. So one more thing I want to ask to Michael. So I think that if you look at the market in Vietnam, I think like tier 1 city like Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, and tier 2 city are still a very different landscape. If you look at the GDP per capita and so on, still like close to 50% of GDP generated in Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. So most of the foreign F&B operator start looking at only Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi as an entry point. But I see you guys also expand to the tier 2 city. And how do you see the difference as a business between a tier 1 city and tier 2 city in Vietnam? And if you have any suggestion for the new F&B operator starting in Vietnam, can you little share?
Yeah. So yes, we have already expanded to tier 2, even tier 3 cities in other provinces across the country. I think the most important part is we need to do enough homework to understand really the demographics. Yes, most of the GDP are generated from the major cities, but we realize the fact is it doesn't mean that they cannot afford with the food. Some of the provinces are actually quite rich, and I think if you also look into the industrial expansions in the country, where you start to have nearby provinces of Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi having influx of foreign investment, that actually also can bring in opportunity for foreign F&B brands. Let me give you an example. For example, in Hanoi, where you have nearby provinces to have a lot of Korean and Japanese factories, this is actually a opportunity for some of the F&B brands that you can bring in your products to. And I think once again, over there, you have a very different dynamic. The competition is not as intense in the major city. So if you're able to position yourself in a proper way with correct pricing, you might be able to succeed. And I think pizza was one of the, well, we have a few stores in the country where we are located in those industrial areas, turn out to be performing very, very well because there were less competitions, and the demand of having like different kind of food versus like the local Vietnamese food. So we are able to bridge this gap to serve this kind of customers. And of course, I think to me, tourists is another angle to look at. Although in the past 2 years we didn't have any influx of tourists, I believe the borders opening up. A city like Anan could be a great opportunity for some of the F&B brands. Depends on what kind of cuisine you sell. But I think the most important part is if you spend enough time to do your market research, okay, understand what is around the demographic, what is around at the area that you want to look at. Of course, I mean, you have to approach some of the maybe industry expert and consultants to tell you, okay, which area have what kind of feature in terms of industrial development, population, foreign direct investment. These are the very crucial data that you need to collect. Of course, for us, when we did our research, we have to look at the population demographics, household income, and then maybe the urbanization rate and how young the population is. Then we'll probably be able to use these data to decide, okay, whether this place is important. Then, of course, when we went in, we can't just simply went in sometimes by ourselves. We probably need to find some partners because it depends on how strong your brand is to attract these local neighbors. But sometimes you really need to have a partners where they can actually help you to draw crowds. For example, we're partnering with some local retail partners that actually helps you to draw traffic to your place. Then that will actually make your entry easier to the second or third tier city.
Cool. Thanks a lot. It's a good insight.
Taku?
Okay. Yep.
Taku?
Yep.
Taku? Let me just add a slightly different perspective that, for us, we're trying to provide a very high quality product. So I'm hyper focused, for example. Many people ask me to go to D2, D7. I don't go. I focus only in D1, not Hanoi anywhere.
Yep.
So which is slightly different, but part of it is really we want to be focused on the market that is open to the product that we do, and we don't go to the other area until we're ready.
Right. Yeah, I think each business has a different angle and focus. Yeah, so I think there is no only one answer for this question, to be honest. So yeah, I think each of you guys are doing the right thing, I feel.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's more like on the strategy that you want to go for, because strategy can be going very hyper focused versus you want to go for mass market cost leadership approach. Yeah, so it's up to, I think, everybody to decide where they want to position.
Yeah. Cool. I just want to touch on a little bit about how did you guys survive COVID, and how do you see 2022? Because all the folks from Singapore, if they want to come into the Vietnam, maybe they wonder how is the COVID situation? How is the F&B business? Is it coming back or still not yet or something, right? So maybe I want to ask this question to both of you. Maybe we can start from Peter. Can you share a little bit about how do you see about COVID last year and how do you see this year in the future?
Right, sure. I think, the last 2 years has been tough on everyone, of course, and more for some than others. But I think particularly, if we are doing fine dining and we never did delivery before, so it was quite a big challenge for us to completely convert to delivery, to maintain, keep our kitchen open, keep our staff employed and so on. And so that was really difficult, but we learned a lot in the process of doing that in terms of coming up with new products, a new way of doing things through the delivery process. And then as soon as the restaurant can open again, we could have kept the delivery going, but we really want to focus on the dining experience. So we stopped the delivery and we focus on the dining. And I think in Vietnamese we say "chưa chết," the key is to survive. And I think if you don't survive, then you can't do anything. And I think, we have survived and come out of it fairly strong. And I'm very positive about going forward. Now we're starting to see, we are based in District 1, so we have both local and also international. So we are pretty good bellwether for what's happening. So we're starting to see, travelers from Singapore, Bangkok, US and other places now, more of the business types or overseas Vietnamese visiting, and then a few more tourist types. It's still very slow, but I think over the next few months, I think it's going to improve a lot. Now we start now to see, the real light of the tunnel at the end of the tunnel now, and things are improving. You see, if I'm here in Thailand, I can see similarly, even though they've opened up mostly, local tourists, local people inside the hotel now. There's only a few, but I think the process need to be easier. The costs need to be lower for more tourists to be able to come. But I think that's coming. So I'm hoping that I think by this summer, we will see a much stronger growth in terms of from a, international travel and hospitality sector.
So you see already like a customer for Anan Saigon is like coming back very strong, like this first quarter this year?
Yes, during the, our mix was really roughly about 50-50 before both local, I mean, people like you living, working here as well as Vietnamese, and then international, both overseas Vietnamese as well as Westerners.
Yeah.
And so after COVID, we lost basically all that. So, but then we pick up a lot what I call, let's say Hanoi people or something like that who they want the Anan experience, but we're not there. So we get more what I call the regional tourists, people from Hanoi, let's say the Mekong Delta, other areas who are now become local tourists. So we get a lot more of those, which helps our business a lot. So as a result of that, our percentage of local Vietnamese now much higher than before. But starting now, we start to see more of the foreign tourists and travelers and business travelers now start to come in now, which actually help push the sales up a lot.
Cool. Thanks a lot for Peter. What about Michael?
Well, for us, of course, during the lockdown time, we have been severely impacted because we couldn't operate in most of the place. We could only maybe operate 20% of our location in the country. But I think other than that, I think before that lockdown period between 2020, from 2020 onwards, we have been pretty stable in terms of the business. I think one of the reasons is before the COVID period, our strategy has been changing, that we want to actually put more focus on delivery and takeaway. And I think we just want to position ourselves that way. So we were quite ready for this shift of customer behavior.
Right.
Of course, when COVID came, we actually put more investment in trying to promote ourselves as a delivery takeaway brand for people who can actually use our pizzas as a home meal replacement. So we were quite okay at that time. I think, of course, I think coming forward, we are not very tourist-driven company. We focus major of local population, mid income. So I believe, of course, it will be even more positive when the economy starts to pick up again and you have more investment coming in. So the entire economy, the sentiment of the entire economy will be more positive. So people are more willing to spend. So resulting our improvement in sales growth. So we are still continue committing our investment on takeaway and delivery and going into digital space. So this is the direction that we continue want to go. Of course, we want to continue to innovate as a franchisee. We want to diversify our brand, and at the same time, we want to go into cloud kitchen, dark kitchen space where we can actually leverage the transformation that we have and the change in customer behavior, so that we can actually take a bigger share in the F&B market. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. So let's say like Pizza Hut already had the big number of delivery and takeaway even before COVID, I believe. Do you see the ratio of let's say ratio of the in terms of sales, right? Ratio of delivery and takeaway before the COVID and now, still like now is much higher than before COVID.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I think I could say our dining percentage dropped around like 15 to 20%, and all this shift it to our takeaway and delivery. So definitely there is a shift. And if you're talking about whether they're coming back, well, it's still a question mark because I think we did see some kind of in Ho Chi Minh we didn't see too much of a shift in our business. However, in Hanoi, unfortunately, they went through some big wave of COVID wave in the past 1.5 months. But then we did see some sign of people coming back to dine in, especially in Hanoi and the northern provinces.
I see. Cool. Thanks. I one more question, like to the both of you. When I talk to like a foreign F&B operator, and they ask me this question is whether Ho Chi Minh or Hanoi, which one should I go? I believe a lot of people go to Ho Chi Minh first, but I just want to know like what do you think about like going to Ho Chi Minh or going to Hanoi as a first destination? Peter, can you answer for that topic?
Ho Chi Minh, please.
Why is it? Why do you think so?
You know, I think there's many reasons, but I think Ho Chi Minh City is much more vibrant, diverse, open, and people are more open to other ideas. The other one, I think, from a staffing and service, I think the quality in Ho Chi Minh City is much better. There is more of a service culture in Ho Chi Minh City. And of course, you know, Ho Chi Minh City, we the key is we have the Mekong Delta, which has a large percentage of the labor pool, which can actually sustain, because you see, you know, many of our people who work in F&B actually come from Mekong Delta, which is the poorer region of Vietnam. Similar in Thailand here, you know, we have people from the Eastern area, the north, and so that provides a great labor pool, because, you know, when we open a business, that's one of the largest issues is really recruitment and staff retention, and also the quality of the service itself. And I think Ho Chi Minh City is much better city in terms of these factors. And of course, I think, you know, it's also much bigger and there's more opportunity. Of course, that means there are more challenges too. So which is good, because I think when you're setting up the business, you should be in a place that give you the most challenge to prove your business model. Because Hanoi, I think it has its own distinctive character, which is maybe not as representative as other areas. You want to go into Da Nang or other areas. I think if you're successful in Ho Chi Minh City, then you can expand to other areas more easily. Whereas I think you're successful in Hanoi doesn't mean you're successful in Ho Chi Minh City or other places.
Right. Cool. What about Michael? You agree with Ho Chi Minh or?
Well, we started from Ho Chi Minh many years ago, but if you ask me now where should I go, I would say maybe I will go Hanoi first, because from a business standpoint, I think we need to understand the market. Okay, if the market competition is very intense, you definitely have a problem of profit, because you're trying to compete with each other. So to me, Hanoi is more like a blue ocean, where, you know, there may be risks for sure, but I think when you have less competition, meaning that you have more opportunity to attract more people. But of course, like, yes, I think you just need to once again understand the value proposition, how you understand about Hanoi's people's behavior. Well, we have more than half of the store over there. Well, we haven't really seen the service problem so far. I think as long as you have a good protocol in training, teaching them the right standard, I think they can consistently deliver. In Hanoi culture, I think people are actually more obey to rules. If you actually give them the right things, the right speech, right steps to actually follow, then they can actually deliver in a much better way. Well, yes, Saigon is very dynamic, but I think because of very dynamic, you know, you find it sometimes quite challenging, to handle the consistency sometimes too. This is what our experience. So we'll vote for Hainan now. Yeah.
Yeah, again, there is a different many answers for, so there is no one right answer. So, okay, cool. Thanks a lot. I think we only have 1-2 minutes until the end. So my just last question, maybe you can just quickly answer is if you are if the F&B operator in Singapore want to ask you for one advice you give to that operator, they haven't decided yet to come to Vietnam. What is your one advice you want to give? Peter?
I would say focus, and that's what I live by.
Okay. A really focused question. Thanks a lot. How about Michael?
Definitely one piece of advice is a long-term commitment is very important. Don't expect, you can just make a huge fortune in this country in a year or two. So yeah, you need to get ready for long-term commitment.
Cool. I totally agree for the both of you. Okay, cool. I think we almost time finished. So thanks a lot for the both of you for really insightful talk. I really enjoy and I hope all the audience enjoy as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Taku. Thank you, Chef Peter, and Michael as well.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.